All right, and we are live. Welcome, my friends. Welcome. Welcome back to the Krieg Dominion. We do things a little weird here. Like, for instance, we spend hours and hours prepping, and then we move the entire scenes around in our prep. That's just a joke. I swear to God it is. Welcome. I am Omar Krieg, your lord and commander and host of the Krieg Dominion, host for tonight's events. Some call me the storyteller or the game master. I guess it just depends on which version. But we're playing Traveler 2300 AD, and this is Second Star, Episode 2, Field Time. With me, of course, are my players portraying their characters. So we'll go ahead and give them a moment, let them introduce themselves. I almost said myself. I'm going to introduce myself. They will introduce themselves. Although maybe one day we'll switch it up and we'll introduce each other. That'll be fun, I'm sure. Charles, what do you got for us, my friend? What's new and exciting in your world?
I'm Charles. Not much. I will say that the company I work for is involved with some research, and I just want to put a plug out there. It's for research with the government called All of Us. So if you go Google All of Us, it's looking for people to volunteer their DNA and some other stuff to do some research with. To
What kind
better
of
understand
what kind
human
of
genome, genetics, things like that.
okay, something along the
Yeah.
lines of like 23andMe and
Yeah,
I can't
yeah,
think of the
very
other
much.
one.
Yeah, very much like, oh, look, you have a marker for a known for some of the stuff that they're working on is like you have a marker for the known breast cancer gene,
Right, right.
and this is stuff you have to pay attention for, or just on a whole, well, people with these types of genes that develop this type of deep set of diseases like heart disease or dementia or things like this, and that's what they're tracking. But it's part of a larger federal government whole research project.
And you said this is called All of Us?
All of us, yes, sir.
Let me throw that in the Twitch chat.
Yeah.
Check it out on Google's, and maybe you can help the big project.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. The human genome is, God, it's, what is it? Ancestry.com and then 23andMe. Those are like the two more commonly known uh, deals out there. But that's usually more for like, I don't know if generic is the right word, but like a
Yeah.
generic human genome research oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, yeah, look at that. Somebody's already playing with my dice. Good lord. Sorry, I'm easily distracted. Uh,
Yeah.
Go
But I
ahead.
put a link inside of our own internal chat, so you can go grab it from there.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, let me do that real quick.
So
Okay, here we go.
I
Larger
don't do
website.
any of it, mind you, but I'm just a guy who runs parts and supplies around
Yeah,
the various labs. But it's kind of cool stuff to listen to.
that is an interesting project, and of course, anything
Yeah.
that helps any sort of human genetic research
Yeah.
outside of
Well,
I'm not trying to get clones and the Wrath of Khan or anything.
oh yeah, no, it's not that. It's more along the lines of like, oh look, for these people with these types of genes, we need to start tracking them because they routinely develop heart disease earlier. Or with these people, we're able to, redheads with green eyes and are 5'3", routinely develop an allergy to sunflowers or something like that.
That's that's just weird enough to might be true.
Yeah,
Also, no, let me stop. I was gonna say something that some might consider to be unclassy.
right.
What else you got? Is that all you got, or you got something else?
That that's it. That's all I got.
That's pretty cool. I like that idea though.
Yep.
Let's see who else we got. Wiggles. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit about your fun festivities or whatever you want to share with us from the last week? Within the last week, I should
Hi,
say.
I'm Wiggles. I'm playing George Wyatt, the executive officer of the Wayfinder. Um, Fun activities. Trying to flesh out some Traveler Second Edition racing rules for hopefully publication in the journals for the Traveling Aid Society.
Ooh, that's pretty cool. Giving back to
Yeah,
the community.
I made R Drive piloting rules like a while ago
Mm-hmm.
that are pretty solid. but they're not substantial enough for an article because it's just a rule set. So it's like, well, they need something to, you need something to do with them, and so I recently figured out how to do compelling R drive racing. So
You could.
because in space you can't just simply go fast because you just look at your spaceship specific impulse and you're like, oh, the race is done.
Yeah. 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 So R drive. Now, it's been a long time since I really delved into the
Reaction drive.
Reaction drive.
Chemical
Okay.
drive. Yeah.
Okay.
Chemical
Because I'm
drive,
used.
traditional conventional rockets.
Yeah. So I'm used to the M drive being the generic how the ship gets about sublight. But the R drive threw me off a little bit. But I think I wonder if you could apply that into some sort of like, oh God, I almost said pod racing. That's not what I'm thinking of. But some sort of hovercraft or low atmosphere or even high atmosphere sort of thing.
There's a subset of the rules called Cepheus Engine Deluxe.
Oh
And
yes.
Someone basically created a what they call the Sunspot Racers, where you kind of race around a star
Mm-hmm.
and using reaction drive tests. But it's like the dangerous part is the closer you get to the sun, the more points you're supposed to get. Things
Right.
Like that.
That sounds
and
kinda
Yeah, so
dangerous.
that sounds similar to my concept. I was gonna do it like a rally race,
Yeah.
right? So it's about getting the best time trial, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you would have a pattern you have to make out, and the one I decided to start with was a 5-point star, right? So the smaller you make the 5-point star, and the faster you do it in, the more points you would score.
Okay. No, that's pretty cool. Also makes me think of how they retconned Han Solo's one line from Star Wars about how he made the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, and that's supposed to be a big deal.
I just don't think I'm comfortable flying so close to a star. Being honest with you, I don't want to get burned to a crisp.
There's depending on the technology that in play, there's ways to do it and get away with it safely, or safely-ish.
Well, I mean, who's to say that you don't, like, oh, whoopsie, whoa, somebody like swerves your fucking ship straight into the fucking star, and then well, there you go.
Well, there's a
And
few other
there's
things.
style.
There's a few other things they have to consider too, because space movement in space is a lot different than what a lot of people think of. It's not like you're just going to get nudged and then fly off straight into the sun. However, getting nudged a little bit can change your orbital trajectory around the sun, which may cause you to eventually crash into the surface of the sun if you don't find some way to correct that deviation.
Or what if turns out breaking weather report, huge solar flare straight from
Yeah.
the sun. Oh, and
Yep.
there goes the racer. He's dead.
To get what do they
He's
call
burned to a
that? CME, coronal mass ejection. That'll shit on your day.
Exactly what it's called.
You get a continent-sized chunk of electromagnetic plasma thrown your way. Yeah, you're screwed. All right, what else you got for us, Wiggles? Anything else?
We're going through another blizzard event here. Supposed to get like the 28 degrees tonight, so looking forward to that.
Put on your
Oh,
coat.
and Ant-Man's really good.
Ant-Man is good.
Ant-Man's really good.
So that's one vote for and
And
one vote
Ant-Man's
against.
really fun.
I've heard that it has not done, or not so much that it hasn't done well, just that it wasn't very good in the grand scheme of the rest of the Marvel cinematic universe.
It's because Termite Man is a superior person.
Oh
He's
my
a
God,
superhero.
stop. I don't know anything about the story, so I can't really go too far. Zayam, since you're already bumping your gums, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself or your character or what you've been up to for the last week?
Hi. I'm Zam, also known as David, real life name. I might put that in the thing here soon.
Well, whichever you're
I play
comfortable with.
I play McAvoy here. He shoots guns. He almost shot a hole in the hull.
Yes, he
trying
did.
to train his troops.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I work at a packing plant in real life, and that's about the most interesting thing I have for you, buddies. Sorry, this is not a very interesting fucking state. It's warm. It's not hot or cold. We don't get blizzards. We don't get snow. We don't get tornadoes unless you live on the, unless you live near like the. We barely get tornadoes. Okay, correction. I mean, I haven't had a single tornado since I was like 6. So, I mean.
But I have heard of this thing called a sand flea.
I don't even know what that is.
Well, I guess that might be more specific to a certain part of your state. Although I may have the states confused now that I think about it.
It's a weird state. It's also a very boring state. If you want to live somewhere where nothing happens, North Carolina, go there. What?
What's up, Charles?
I live in Virginia. Sam Fleet Banks, and they when they bite. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, Charles. I don't know if it's your connection or if it's something with your mic, but you came in a bit garbled there and broken. So, if you could.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Yep.
He's got the wiggly syndrome.
Yeah, he does. Except we can hear him clearly. That's the one advantage.
Yeah.
Well, while Charles hopefully is able to figure that out, let's go ahead and take it over to Lee, the one person of this group that was not here last week because he was doing fun family things.
I thought we were skiing, man. Went on spent a week up at Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a kind of a guy's trip. Took my son. We had a good time. Nobody got hurt.
Well, that's good.
First time on skis, yeah. So, all in all, excellent time. And on a fun side note, we were at a layover in LA and we saw Ron Perlman on the Delta Club.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. So I'm playing Dr. Hoffman, the Chief Medical Officer probationary for right now of the Wayfinder. And he mentioned you guys. I can be online for about 40 minutes today, and then I got to go to my monthly board association meeting. Unfortunately,
Yes.
Hopefully it only happens once a month.
Yes, I've actually I've accounted for that, and I kind of alluded to it earlier in my very sarcastic opening about how we spend hours in prepping and then we move whole scenes around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my opening sequence for the show or what have you here in just a moment, and then instead of going straight into what I wanted to do, and originally I'm going to go to your part, try to get as much of that done before you have to take off, and then we'll cycle back and then basically carry I don't want to say carry dead weight because that sounds so rude, but basically pick up and carry on with what we can from that point forward without your character. I may do a little bit of
research.
Yeah, I mean, I might just be like, yeah, Hoffman's on the ship, depending on how far we get tonight. Hoffman's on the ship. He's just generally unavailable for active interactions, just to account for the fact that you yourself won't be around.
He's doing diagnostic testing. And all
Yes, he's calibrating the machines. Calibrating like Garrus. Yeah, he's definitely calibrating his medical equipment. Kind of like Garrus, except instead of trying to kill people, he's trying to save people. Yeah. All right. Well, I am Omar Krieg, of course. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube. But the best place to find me really is on the Discords. And if you've been watching the stream, you'll notice that directly under my stupid face is my name tag card thingy, and it'll keep cycling through a couple of different things. And that'll have my socials. But the best place really to keep up, like I was trying to say, is on the Discord. If you get to the Discord, you can see the things that are going on. You can hang out and get up-to-date information and find out things that are going on, such as our new Battletech Mega Mech 3-on-3 league that I'm trying to put together. I'll be starting playtesting later this week, in fact, with one of my other compatriots. But on to the show. Previously on Second Star, the last holdout members of the crew slowly came together. McAvoy encounters Senior Trooper Benefield, who has been sent to the station to pick him up and bring him back to the Wayfinder. Together, they find the XO Wyatt aboard the TIS, or the Terrain Interplanetary Station, before transferring over to the Wayfinder. And as they are leaving, there is a blast of some sort on the station. And then we transition into where we meet Hellwig, that's Charles's character, as he had come aboard the ship earlier. He has a meeting with the short-lipped Master Crew Chief Elliot Billingsley, and then we get to watch him basically wrangle down two troopers having a little too much fun in the ATV bay and get them focused on their task at hand. Next, we saw Wyatt's meeting with the captain and a brief interaction between McAvoy and Troop Commander Latoya Hurst. And then lastly, we saw the ship separate from the shipyards and begin its outward movement towards the Sol system. And at the very end, our last scene, showing a mysterious individual on a station somewhere, leaving behind a recording device in which this person left instructions to quote-unquote alert the Dukes regarding the recent TIS explosion. and now I got to scroll a couple of pages through my notes to get to where I need to be. So give me half a second. All right, we're gonna start with Dr. Hoffman. For you, it is roughly. I know the stream. It says it's Saturday. It is actually probably like Thursday evening, Friday early, very early in the day. You have just arrived at the Olympia station on Mars. For a point of reference, the Olympia station in traditional 2300 media was called Sagan. I changed it to Olympia because I couldn't remember the name, couldn't find the information fast enough, and then realized I actually made a little bit of a boo-boo, and then decided to just say, screw it, we're keeping it, and we're going to keep the name Olympia Station. For the viewers, and as a reminder to the players, Olympia Station was originally an American science research facility on the surface of Mars, centered mostly around how to live in desert environments or other not so easy to get on in environments. And then probably about 20 or 30 years ago, there was some tantalum found. The station is nestled against the bottom, I guess. I don't know what the right word is. Basically, the station's up against the bottom or the base of Olympus Mons, which of course is the largest mountain in the solar system. Tantalum was found on the mountain. So shortly before the station was scheduled to be shut down, this tantalum find basically gives it a bit of a boom. And now 30 years later, despite the fact that that tantalum vein has dried up, the station still remains and is a fairly decent sized station. It's about 20,000 people altogether. And if you want to have like a quick visual, imagine a roughly circular landing pad area. And then to one side of that is what can easily be distinguished as something of a warehouse and trade port kind of deal. And then on the opposite side of the landing pad area is where all of the habitation, science research, commercial, and some industrial areas. As it turns out, the tantalum refining and processing and all that stuff side of the house is actually on the opposite end from where the freight and warehouse type stuff is, if that makes any sense. I actually had thought about putting together a little imagery, but I never got around to it with everything else I had going on. But anyways, we see basically the camera kind of comes down towards the planet. We see the central landing pad area, and the camera like angles upward, and you see this big kind of like at an airport, you have the big wall-sized window panes that you can look out, and you can see the aircraft and all the other service vehicles and stuff like that out there. And that's kind of what we see, except everything's kind of these dusty. The surface of Mars isn't actually red; it's just the way it appears because of various things in the atmosphere and whatnot. But there is definitely that reddish, almost orange tone to it that you don't always see in a desert setting. So that's kind of what we get. Of course, everything is, these old HAB structures and whatnot. We see standing there in the window looking out as the ship that he had arrived on is now getting ready to be serviced is Dr. Francis Hoffman. But don't call him Francis to his face, I believe is the story. Lighten up, Francis. So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? So right now you're on the station. Your only guidance that you've been given so far is you were en route to Terrain towards at the end of your leave or vacation time. Your orders are to report to the Wayfinder, but you've been waylaid here at Mars, and subsequently you were told that the Wayfinder will actually be picking you up here at Mars. There is a facility here in the station where you can check in at and get a place to stay for a day or two, however long you have to wait until the Wayfinder gets here.
All right, so assuming I'm there, so I just got dropped off, right?
Yep, you've got bags in hand. You're basically in what otherwise could be considered to be your standard or stereotypical airport terminal. Obviously, it'd be a starport, but you get the idea.
Yeah. So I'm assuming this thing is a little broader because people may be there for several days, right? So
Yeah.
I'll head
Yeah.
out. So head out and look for the temporary lodging and then my plan is to go to temporary lodging, check in, see if I can get a room, and then see if there's some kind of rec fac, like recreational facility.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get a workout in or something like that.
Yeah, it's not too hard to find. There's a little space off the main. If you follow the concourse long enough, like a lot of airports, you'll end up looping back around. You do find it's obvious. It's Flex field office. It has the big Flex logo across the top of it. But once you step inside, it's not very large. It's probably like
Okay.
2 or 3 workstations across. There's a lady there. She is fair-skinned, light brown hair, blue eyes, mid to late 20s. When she speaks, when she says hello to you, there's a noticeable Armenian accent. And her last name, as it shows on her skin suit tag, is Galoyan. I can spell that in Discord if y'all need me to. I don't know how important it might be.
Yeah, I love it. Go up, talk to her, and then ask her if she's got an ETA on when the wayfinder's expected.
Okay, so she takes your. I'm assuming you'll give her your name so she knows who you are.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Hoffman.
Okay.
Or my Flex ID. I'm assuming we have Flex IDs.
Yeah. Now, obviously, as I mentioned to the crew last week, I can't do accents to save my life, and I can nail an accent randomly, but not consistently. So I'm not even going to attempt an Armenian accent. I'm not even sure what an Armenian accent would sound like. But just pretend this is a young lady that speaks with an Armenian accent and not a middle 40s guy that sounds like me. Yes, Dr. Hoffman. Yes, Wayfinder. Okay, and she does some little tapping on her keyboard. Yes, the Wayfinder is due in 2 days. All right, so you need a place to stay. Here you go. She starts giving you, in our day, we'd probably get like card keys, like credit card, room key type deals. She gives you a key for a hotel room at the local Starport Hotel, which is the Port of Olympia Starry Sky. I put a lot of information in here. Holy cow. Port of Olympia Starry Sky Inn, room 231. She gives you a couple of meal vouchers. Each of those vouchers covers 3 meals per voucher. So basically enough food for a single day. Each voucher is individually stamped with a date that it's good for. She's given you Friday today and Saturday tomorrow. She's starting to kind of rattle through some of the stuff I'm talking about too. If you're trying to purchase any alcoholic beverages, you'll have to do that for yourself. Flex is not going to pay for that. If you end up staying here more than a couple of days, come back and see me. Also, I've been told that we need to give you this individual's name, Theodore Spielberg. I don't know all the details, just what they show here, but apparently Wayfinder is carrying some science gear or something, and he's the person that he needs. That basically he's the point of contact. And they want, whoever runs Wayfair's administration, support, logistics, BS. They're like, yeah, just make sure this doctor guy knows this information.
Is he at the station or is he on the ship?
Spielberg?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Spielberg is...
At the port?
No, he's at the port. Spielberg, there's a little bit of information in a contact number or whatever you want to call it, like a phone number or what have you. Basically, he is a broker in the warehouse sector. He's just the one that is designated to be the one receiving the stuff that the ship is carrying. And then lastly, she asks, is there a message or anything you want to leave? Is there a message or anything you want to leave for the Wayfinder in case you're not readily available once they arrive? I.e., it's the middle of the night and you're sleeping, or they can't reach you in your hotel room.
I just give them give her the number of, I'm assuming we have like a Portacomp or a phone or something like that.
Yeah, you would have a link. As soon as you landed and were within a few meters of the main building for the Starport, you would have almost automatically guested your way onto the link network there.
Okay.
The hotel will have its own. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, give her my link ID and just say, hey, you know, when it makes port, ping me on that.
Okay.
And you know, from there, I'm like, I'll go drop my bags off in my room. And since I got time to kill, you know, ask her, you know, hey, where is the warehouse section? Where can I go find Mr. Spielberg? And do you have directions over to the?
She does not know exactly like where his office is. She does have his contact information. She can point you in the general direction of the warehouse section or sector, whatever you want to call it.
Does our equipment have, you know, like the local equivalent of like a Google Maps, so we can just kind of navigate our way into it?
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine in the 24th century that would be something relatively easy to figure out, especially if you're navigating within a particular link network.
Right.
You know, at the very least, there's bound to be several "you are here" points on maps, so it wouldn't be that hard to figure out how to get there.
So I figure I'll just, you know, go drop my bags off over, and what did you say, room 231?
Yep.
And, you know, and I figure I'll head over to the meeting, but while I'm doing that, I'll contact you via the link network.
Yep. Are you gonna send him like a? So I'm gonna use some modern language here, but are you gonna send him a text? Or are you gonna give him a
Like
call?
text.
Okay.
Yeah. It would, you know, just give a text note, and,
Okay.
you know, hey, this is, you know, Dr. Hoffman, medical officer for the Wayfinder. Understand you trying to reach me.
Okay. So right about the time you're dropping your bags off in your room, you get a text back. So probably like 15, 20 minutes later, you get a text back from somebody identified as T. Spielberg, simply asking, "Is the ship here already? I wasn't expecting it for another day or two."
No, not here yet. I arrived early, you know, meeting the ship in at this port en route.
Okay. Yeah, you get a response back. Something to the effect of, "Let me know when the ship gets here. If you feel the need to meet up, or if you have other business you'd like to conduct with me, by all means. Here's my, you know, essentially my address or where the office is, and then you can, effectively, you can show up if you want. You don't necessarily have to come by right away if you don't want to. You know, he's not gonna be all wishy-washy like I am, because I can't get my head to run straight right now. But everything's pretty much.
So the message that either,
Go ahead.
I mean, so in either the message he gave me or the message the gal passed on, was it that he had equipment that I needed to get, or that I
No.
needed to be aware of?
So-
on the ship?
What you don't know, because you weren't here, is that the Wayfinder, prior to departing Alpha Centauri, was loaded with 2 tons of medical and science gear that was originally earmarked for the Olympia station like 6 or 8 weeks ago. But for whatever reason, they never actually released it and shipped it. And now here's the Wayfinder also getting ready to head out on its, you know, on the first leg of its new tour, or next cruise, or whatever you want to call it. So somebody with half a brain up in the Flex management side of things was like, wait a minute, here's 2 tons of gear here, here's a ship, they're both going to be going generally the same direction, 1 and 1 suddenly equals 2. What they also did, because you got diverted to Mars, for whatever reason that might be, they realized that maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea, with you already being on the ground a couple of days before your ship arrives, maybe if you made contact and make the whole transition process a little bit smoother, or at least that's what the higher ups are thinking. But, you know, the higher ups never clearly communicate that with the lower people.
See, gotcha. Well, I'll shoot him a text back and go, hey, I got some time to kill. You know, I can swing by there. You know, and then take a look at the manifest, or see if I need to sign for something.
Okay.
I have to sign for, you know, a hammer suit or something.
All right, so you're gonna head over to Spielberg's office. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, en route there, you receive 2 quick messages from Galoyan, the lady at the field office. Her messages arrive on your link, M. Galoyan, and what she says is, 1, the first message is just a simple follow-up, make sure that you got settled and found your room all right, and a reminder to let you know, if you have any questions or anything, don't hesitate, blah, 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 standard fare. The second message is that What she did not notice when you guys did talk was that Spielberg actually heard about Flex showing up. So basically, so you get the message from higher up saying, "Hey, go meet with this guy because this gear is showing up." And then there's a message, "Hey, I hear there's gear showing up. Could you have somebody come contact me once they arrive?" So you're getting kind of like the in-between message backlog sort of deal. And so Galoyan is sending you what she's got because she didn't realize this message was also sitting in the buffer. So right now, basically, your link is starting to blow up, and it's kind of annoying, I'm sure. Other than that, so fundamentally, you could call it kind of like a subway train almost, but effectively, it's like, the old school idea of what the future would look like with magnetically driven cars inside a tube of glass. Fundamentally, that's what this is. It's not nearly high speed as we once upon a time thought it might be, because safety reasons, we're not going to let this thing go flying anything more than probably about 30 or 40 miles an hour. You're not going very far, maybe a few miles at most from one end of, like I'm talking like from the absolute one end to the absolute other end of this entire station is maybe a few miles. So you're kind of booking along and you kind of get a nice little look. To the one side is this open-ended Marsscape. To the other side, you can get a pretty good snapshot of the entire facility, the entire Olympia station. Eventually, it winds down, and you disembark, and it's probably another 5 minutes walk. But this is the warehouse section where there's the obvious area where a lot of warehouse storage facilities are. There's, every now and again you could spy like this random shipping container kind of sitting off by itself or what have you. It's pretty industrial. There's not much in the way of like greenery here outside of maybe the obligatory help keep the air clean tree here and help keep the air clean grass there. But otherwise, you come across his office. It's located just outside the warehouse section. An office that has 4 workstations on the main floor, and his personal office up a small flight of stairs with a view overlooking the 4 workers and a receptionist below. When you arrive, he obviously can see you coming in. He is a tall, portly type who appears to have lived well through most of his life. Probably in his 50s, maybe early 60s, gray hair, short, but it's also receded far back the top of his head. The classic male pattern baldness thing going on here. And then when he speaks, he's German, but his accent is only noticeable if he starts speaking really fast. But his English otherwise is pretty good. But yeah, otherwise he just gives you the traditional greeting of the day and wants to know what he can do to help you out.
Yeah, so, walk in there, hi, Dr. Hoffman, Wayfinder. My understanding is you had some equipment, there's some equipment in route on there, and you had that information. I'd like to, get an idea of what that is, and, so I can get a little ahead of the power curve.
Yes. Good to meet you. I'm Theodore Spielberg. You can call me Theo or Teddy. I'm indifferent, to be totally honest with you. Welcome. This is my office. I'm the manager owner here, Mountaineer Shipping. What we really do here is we kind of receive things and then send them on to where they're supposed to go here on the planet, and then receive things from the planet and make sure they go on a ship headed outward. To get to your specific question,
Basic import-output business.
Yeah.
Import-export business.
Yep, essentially, that's it right there. You got it. This medical gear, it's supposed, I should say medical and science gear, because there's fundamentally there's 2 tons, 1 ton of each, medical and science gear. I just lumped it all together. Anyway, it's going to be heading over to the research center on the other side of the station. There's a group of scientists over there that want to do some research in low oxygen atmosphere, something. It's all sciencey. I don't know. I don't understand.
Chuckle. Do you happen to have, a listing of this, a manifest that we sent?
I do. Your GM didn't prep enough of that, but he does have a list of what's coming. I'm sorry. I'm laughing at myself right now.
That's fine. And then say, okay, well, maybe I can, facilitate this a little bit. Do you have the name of the recipients, the scientists that are going to get that? Get that information from you?
Let me go look that up. I'm sure I have that information. I just don't have it readily available in my brain. Sorry, I'm laughing at myself right now. Yeah, he'll kind of head back up to his little office. He'll do a little, tip tap 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 tip tap tap on his computer. He's like, yes, so and so name. Shit, I can't even shit out a name now. Johansson. Yes, Johansson. Lamp post Johansson. No, I'm joking again. Lenny Johansson. He's the chief of science operations something. Yeah, some of these agencies really come up with some wonky sounding titles, don't they? Yes, he's the one that's going to be receiving the goods. But I have to remind you, I think I know where you're going with this. I need to remind you, contractually, this equipment is coming to me, then I bring it to them. That's how everybody gets paid what they're supposed to get paid. I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. I'm just explaining how this is. Although, now that I think of it, Flex. You guys have some very interesting operating procedures. And now my accent's going all over the place. So bear with me here, guys.
Okay.
You guys have some very interesting operating procedures and protocols. I happen to know somebody that might need some of your, well, maybe not your help, but maybe your ship's help when they get here. Does the name Natalia Giordano, oh my god, I can't even say this. Natalia Giordano mean anything to you by any chance? Kelly's Rifles?
Was that the name of that was the name of the system?
No. That was Galoyan. Now I see where the confusion is. Listen, random name generator is great, but somebody has to fact check it. Make sure you don't have too many names too similar to each other.
You said does the name Natalia, what is it?
Giordano. He also dropped the name Kelly's Rifles.
Doesn't ring a bell. However, do you have contact information for him?
I do.
Number, address?
Yes, I have a contact information for her. And he gives you the name, Natalia Giordano. I'll put this in Discord here in a moment. And he gives you a number. He also gives you the name of a bar called the Red Rock, which is located, it's back on the other side of the station, probably somewhere between the Starport and the local commercial district, where a lot of people just go do, like, generic shopping. Or not even generic shopping, but, like, any major shopping expenditures, that would probably be where it would be. The strip, as it were.
Gotcha.
And he also mentions, listen, these are mercs, be careful. But I think this case is on the up and up, mostly.
Reminds me of a guy I used to know. I remember putting together a cybernetic arm for him. All right.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I got that one. That, my friends, was a callback to some connections that were made during character creation that I didn't have consciously active in my brain.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Mr. Spiel. And so I head out. Go back, check it on my link. See where that place is. What time is it?
By this point, I would say it's like mid to late afternoon, so maybe like somewhere between 2 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The cool thing is also Mars has a diurnal cycle, not much different than Earth's. So when we say it's 2 to 4 p.m., it actually kind of looks like 2 to 4 p.m. outside.
All right, so I'm gonna head out over to that Red Rock bar. But in real life, though, I'm gonna have to drop because I gotta head to that meeting.
Okay, real quick, can
When
we?
my character goes to a meeting.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to assume that at some point your character is putting together some sort of, hey, this is what I did for when the ship shows up later, so that way the other players will know about Natalia and
I'll write
Theodore.
that up and put it. Where do you want me to put it?
If you want to actually leave like an actual note of some sort, just drop it in Traveler General, in the Discord,
Okay,
and then the players will receive that information when they get here.
will do. All right,
Awesome.
guys. Hey, sorry to have to drop again. But
Hey, it is what it is, man. I'm just glad we had a moment at least to get a scene with you before you had to take off.
yeah, no, this is good, and next week I'm solid. So,
All right.
all right, guys. I will talk to you next week, if not sooner.
Awesome.
Okay.
Have a good one, man. Hopefully the meeting is not as dry and boring as most meetings are.
Well, we got a couple of big projects. We have a new ass.
Gotcha,
Okay,
man.
I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, get out of here, man. Okay, back to the main crew, which I actually don't really want to call you guys the main crew, but for now you are the main crew.
Yeah, we're the shit crew. That's what we are. We're the,
Well,
the shit crew.
speaking of shit crew, let me go ahead and read through some of this because this is going to take a minute. We'll call everything that just happened with Dr. Hoffman, we'll call that like a side, what do they call it in the Lost TV series? Flash sideways? Yeah, slide flashes instead of flashbacks or flash sides. Something. Anyway, that's what happens here. We go to commercial. We come back from commercial, and this is what we get. We get the view from inside someone's helmet. Small digital readouts lining the outer edge of the helmet, keeping the person's view unobstructed. We see we are on a rocky surface, but the telltales on the HUD indicate there is no atmosphere here. The rocky ground extends far out to the horizon in nearly all directions, and over that horizon to the left is a pale orange star, too distant to give anything more than a deep pre-sunset cast of light and shadow to wherever it is we are. Deep pre-sunset cast of light and shadow.
Sorry, you cut out.
No worries, it happens. Ahead, prefab buildings strung together to form a ramshackle facility, and we see the flashes of light that can only be muzzle flash, but we don't hear anything. The man through whose helmet we're watching raises a cybernetic arm, blasting a single shotgun round into another man only a half dozen meters away. The man pinwheels back, hanging and drifting through the air longer than one might think. Wherever we are, it's lower than one standard gravity here. More fighting as the man lurches forward, more silent gunshots, more shotgun blasts heavily muffled through the suit. Then the fighting is done. A man standing ahead of the one giving us this view, turning. Through that man's helmet, we see a look of surprise, the visage of shock that suddenly shifts to menace. He moves too fast for a man, knocking away the shotgun and bashing a fist straight into the helmet glass. The HUD flickers. We hear the hissing of escaping air, a flash of light. Darkness fades in seconds. The person we have ridden along with is now laying on his side, the view slanted to almost upside down. The broken HUD shows red all over the lower back of the suit diagram and black over where the face would be, indicators of damage to the suit or perhaps breaches in its ability to keep the vacuum of space away from the person inside. The view slowly fades to black. McAvoy, this is you.
Hey.
You know nothing. Everything was black, but now everything is muddled, blurry, gray, white. You can hear a voice or two, maybe three. You're not really sure. You can't feel anything either. Though you can tell you're laying in a bed, but you can't move. Nothing moves. You can't tell if it's because you're physically restrained or you're just drugged to the point of immobility.
Cut out.
Yep.
Oh, there you are.
Yep. You are incapable of moving. You can't tell if you're being physically restrained or if you're just drugged to some form of paralysis.
Well, shit. I don't know what to do. I mean, so I'm in a bed though, right?
It would seem so.
Can I investigate my surroundings still?
You can't
Look
see
around a
anything.
little bit?
You can't see anything.
Can't see anything.
Everything's gray and blurry white.
And I can't move anything.
No.
I can't move my arms.
Which arm are you trying to move?
My cyber arm.
It's not there.
Okay, so this is a problem.
Perhaps.
Well, I suppose there's something I can do at this point. I guess I'll just wait it out. I mean, I can't. If I can't move my arm, I can't move my face. I can't see anything. I don't
Okay.
have a cool cyber arm to,
To be super cool with?
Yeah, I don't have a cool cyber arm to be super cool with all of a sudden, and like
All right.
randomly assaults anybody that might be nearby.
Can we save him?
Potentially.
Can we save
Sorry?
him? Can we save him? You hear
Can
that?
we save him?
Yeah, you hear somebody say that. You hear it plainly, but it sounds like your ears might be plugged or something.
Oh, motherfuckers! Plug my damn ears.
He'll need surgery. A lot of it, in fact. This is a different voice, a female voice, maybe a little bit older, but you're really not sure. You can't really tell. What kind? Aside from the brain damage that is likely, the female asks. The man grunts something in reply. Physical trauma to the kidneys, liver, spine. That'll take some work, but nothing we can't handle. The stasis that you brought him in will have helped that. I'm more worried about potential and unrecoverable brain function loss, though. What about his chances for a full recovery in due time? The man asks. Low to moderate, I'd say. If we can get started sooner rather than later. Blackness descends. You feel nothing. You remember nothing. And then you wake up again.
Hey, do I have my arm back?
Probably not. I'm trying to scan my notes here. Sorry. You wake up. Your arm is not there. What do you try to make any kind of movements?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get up.
You can't.
Fuck.
Also, you hear a voice right next to you. You're awake, the man beside you says. He says, rest, don't try to get up. When you try to get up, you notice there's a restraint, but there's also a very, very, very sluggish response in your body, like it's not moving when you say move. And the guy sitting next to you, he's like, rest, don't try to get up. You can hear the sounds of machines around you, a steady beep that you can probably figure out pretty fast that it's matched to your heartbeat. But there's a couple other sounds that you can hear. There's tubes and wires everywhere. You can't see very well, probably because there's bandages all over your face. And then the man beside you again, you shouldn't be awake. It won't do that you are. You must rest. Gather your strength. I saved you for a reason. I need you. Please, rest. Let your body recover. You took a lot of damage out there. Pain. There is nothing but pain now. Absolute pain. It whites out everything. And then you hear an alarm.
I assume I cry out maybe a little bit. I mean, yeah.
No. Now you hear an alarm. Sounds an awful lot like an alarm, like something's on fire or, an alert of some sort. Doesn't sound like your alarm clock, to be clear, but it does sound like, fire drill alarm type thing. Hey, get your ass moving! It's another damn drill, and I'll be damned if we let the XO down again. This time it's Benefield. You've just woken up from a really weird dream, and you are now being put on alert, and you need to get your ass down to the ATV bay. You and your team.
I'm up. I'm up and at him.
All right, we need to make a roll here.
Although,
go ahead.
While I'm making this roll, I will say that while he's making this roll, he's gonna do a quick glance down at his arm again.
It's there, exactly the way you remember it being when you went to bed.
Sigh of relief, washes over him.
All right.
How many dice?
2 dice. Right. You're rolling with your tactics and education modifiers. And I'm gonna roll.
Tactics and education.
Yep.
It's a 0.
Yeah. I'll be rolling for Benefield to see which one of you two get down there first.
It's a 6.
Oops.
Again, I think I got a 6 last time.
I think you did. That's okay. You and Benefield show up at about the same time. However, as you arrive in the ATV bay with your team, both your teams in tow, you'll notice that, as usual, Troop Sergeant Franco and Troop Commander Hurst are both there, as well as Commander Wyatt. And for your particular leaders, Franco and Hurst, they are disappointed. I'm curious to know what the XO's response is to the fact that both teams just failed this drill. They did not make it to ATV Bay in time.
God damn.
Is Wiggles around?
Well,
Wiggles.
I mean, he's gonna respond to it. He has no response for that. I mean, he's just gonna probably.
No,
Go
Wiggles
on
is
what I
around.
do.
Let him have a chance.
No, I was muted.
Oh, Wiggles, what are you trying to say?
Uh, So Wyatt will walk up to them with sticky notes, and he'll put a sticky note on a trooper's forehead, and then he'll write dead, and then he'll go to another trooper's forehead, put a sticky note on their head, write dead, and go to another trooper's forehead, put a sticky note on there, write dead, and go to the other senior commander, put a sticky note on their forehead, and write dead. Congrats, and then
If you
walk
do
away.
it to me, I swear to God, if he did it to me, I would have grabbed his fucking arm.
No, hold on.
You're not
Hold
gonna
on.
fucking put a sticky note on my head, okay? My head is my private property. You can't put shit on my head without my personal.
Well, so you're kind of tall, but I feel like Wyatt is a little bit taller, and maybe it was just easier to put it on your head, and then you can bat it away if you want. But let's not get into a fisticuffs here.
Well, no, I'm not gonna get into fisticuffs. I'm simply preventing him from putting a sticky note on my head. I'm not gonna take that. Are you crazy?
Your Lieutenant Hurst just gives you a very sharp glare as she just kind of lurches herself forward in the 0G that you're in, grabs that sticky note and slaps it right on your chest. But when she slaps it onto your armored chest, there's enough force on it to definitely enough force on it to nudge you back. Get this shit right. And that's all she says as she leaves.
Kind of like do a funny little like a fucking kind of like a slightly pissed off snort and kind of just go back to whatever it is I was supposed to be doing.
Okay, is Wyatt still in the ATV bay, or has he moved on elsewhere also?
He made his dramatic point about their lack of response time with the dramatic gesture, and he walks out.
Okay.
It's not his responsibility to improve the troops; it's the troop captain.
Yes, absolutely. But you made your point, and the lieutenant made her point, and the sergeant is now leaving. Now it's just you, Benefield, and your 6 troopers.
I have 3 troopers technically. But,
You have 3, but Benefield has 3 also, so therefore 6. It's you, Benefield, and 6 troopers. What do you want to do with them?
I mean, fuck. I guess I'll fucking tell them to go back to training. Let's just go do some training. I guess. I mean, there's nothing else to do on the ship at this point. We're not fighting anything.
Yeah, and you're still FTL, so yeah. All right. Benefield.
Maybe, well, actually,
go ahead.
Maybe I'll you know what? Just so we can get this right, and maybe I don't know how increasing skills works in this game, but however I can do this, I'd like to train these guys just with like doing the same exact drill randomly throughout like any period of time.
Absolutely. Insofar as increasing your skill points on your character sheets, that takes fundamentally it takes 40 hours of dedicated study time per week for 8 weeks times the number of skill points you're trying to acquire. So for instance, you have shotgun 3 or something like that. If you're trying to go to shotgun 4, that's 32 weeks of 40-hour weeks of study. Not necessarily study because of shotgun. So obviously with shotgun, you'd want to get like adequate field time, or range time, studying the ideas of marksmanship, studying how to operate, clean, break down, maintain your shotguns. You know, there's a lot that can go into it, but it's 40-hour weeks times 8 counts as 1 study period, and then it's however many study periods equal to the number of skill that you're trying to get to.
So what if I was trying to go from 0 to 1?
Then it would just be 8 weeks.
A week?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. Okay.
And it doesn't have to be week to week. It can be like you can do 1 week this time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nope, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charles. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, if you do training upgrades, it's like let's just say we're doing it this week for travel to Mars. You do it for this week, and then you skip a week, and we're doing travel to someplace else. You do that week. You can count that week as long as you do 8 weeks. But
Yep.
if you break any time out of studying, that week is invalid. So you have to do the full 40 hours of training.
Yep. And I think I've actually been thinking about that particular aspect of Traveler because that's like one of the hardcore Traveler core
Yeah.
principles. I think I want to modify that slightly to account for how space travel in 2300 works. In the Imperium Traveler, you can always count on having a solid week of nothing else to do but study
Yeah.
because you have your ship or you have your times in jump. Well, the difference in Traveler 2300 is all these different ships have slightly different travel speeds, so you don't. It's not always going to be a week. Like it took you guys about 2 days FTL time from Alpha Centauri to Sol. When you go for your next jump, it's going to be like 4, almost 5 days FTL. Now there are roughly a day or so on either side of that for transiting away from the planet to the edge of the system. Then you go to FTL. Then you go from the edge of the system to the planet. So that can be anywhere from 4 to 6 or 7 days. I'm thinking, and this may not be the best way to handle it, but I think for simplicity, insofar as tracking skill points or the training weeks, is one transit from one planet through FTL to the next planet counts as 1 week, even though there's going to be times where that may only be literally just 2 or 3 days total transit time. I don't know how really well that would work or not, and I may have to ask some of the Facebook group people that would know better on how to account for that.
Well, Omar, you are the DM or the
I
GM,
am.
and there's nothing wrong with just stress testing shit after all.
No, that's that's always been one thing that I've wondered about 2300 versus quote unquote core Traveler, is given how ships move in 2300 versus how ships move in the core, or Imperium or whatever, that does change. There was a couple other ideas I had regarding skill ups. Basically, the other game I do streaming is Pendragon, where when you use a skill, if you roll a critical success, you get a check mark in that skill, and then at the end of the year, any skill that has a check mark has a chance to be increased. And I was thinking of doing something similar to that here. It's just it won't be at the end of a year; it'd be at the end of a major arc that you would have the opportunity to see if that skill goes up. The drawback to that I could see is that in a relatively short amount of time, say half a dozen sessions or so, you could have skill ups that were not intended for the original balancing of the rules. So
there's
way or
no
another-
critical successes.
correct, you're right. No, there is not critical successes hard coded into Traveler, but I was considering something like if you rolled boxcars or snake eyes, then you might get that check. But again, that was an idea. I haven't really fleshed it out. It was just something I've been tossing around in my head for a few months now.
Regardless, and I'll let you decide how this works out, Omar. But
Mhm.
and I'll let you figure out when these happen, since I'm gonna leave it up to just a chance thing.
Mhm.
So, but I'd like to, like I said, I'd like to from now on just randomly have. I don't know about Bennett, but my men are gonna have random fucking drills like this. And not
Well-
just this either, just like other stuff as well.
Yeah,
probably.
well, see, that's the thing. So your responsibility as a team leader is readiness of your team, and readiness is a very, very broad stroke as a term. Covers a wide variety of things that all fall under the umbrella of readiness, and we're talking like things anywhere from like handling personal matters, financial, vacation time. My mom is sick and I don't know how to deal with it, up to professional readiness as like their skill sets. Are they performing adequately, or are they doing well, or are they not? To medical readiness, to psychiatric readiness if you want. So what I'm really getting at though is, as the team leaders, it is absolutely on you, and I can say this as having done this in the military myself. It is absolutely on you to train them in whatever means you see fit with the resources you have. So if that means at like random points 3 times a day, you just drill up your guys and be like, hey, get to the ATV bay now, all gear, go. Timing starts now. And see how long it takes them.
Yes.
You can do that. You can do that.
Fucking time.
Yeah, you could do that. Now, there will be leadership that can counsel and mentor you to make sure you're not burning them out, because obviously you don't want to do this too often. You're trying
No,
to
of course
you train to standard, not to any other words you want to use here. Military, we used to use time a lot, but you train to standard, and the goal is to get them to do this particular task with a certain level of proficiency, and obviously they're not there right now.
Well, I guess if there's anything else I would do while I'm with the rest of the dudes here, the
Mhm.
6 troops and my fellow troop commander here.
Senior trooper.
I senior trooper. I would notice it once everybody else is gone and it's just us. I would kind of noticeably stop being so tense because I don't like the other people on the ship. But I'd loosen up and then say, "Don't worry, boys, we'll get this eventually. All right, we just gotta train more. That's all."
I think Benefield's got a similar approach.
And pat one of them on just a random guy nearby, pat him on the back, tell him, "All right, let's go."
Yeah, you definitely hear Benefield over there talking to one of his dudes, and he's definitely like, "Listen, hey, we're not gonna let this get to us. We're gonna get this shit right, and then, goddamn it, boat right. The next time I tell you to grab your shit and get moving, goddamn it, get your shit and get moving. There's no discussion." So yeah, he's definitely he's leading his guys back. He's got 2 boat rights and somebody else's name I can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, so yeah, as you guys are clearing out the ATV bay. You hear all hands, prepare for translation, subliminal speeds, all bridge hands to the bridge. And we're going to transition now to the bridge, and this will include Wyatt and Helwig. Helwig, you do have a quasi-official station on the bridge. You will take what is otherwise considered to be an auxiliary station. If the need for gunnery comes up, this is your station. It's basically a duplicate sensors station with ties into, obviously into the gunneries, or excuse me, the gunnery. The gunner's turrets.
Roger.
They're not specifically turrets, but they can cover a fairly wide arc. But obviously, you get tactical sensor information. You have access to the tactical computer. If you guys recall, the ship does have 2 computers. One is the main, which handles like basically all of its normal functions, and then you have a tactical computer that gives 1 or 2 bonuses for combat stuff. You do have some access as far as like the communications and flight, but you can't actually fly the ship from the station. It's more actually more access to navigation than it is to flight. One thing that you would probably know by now, maybe more in the sense of how it's supposed to be versus having experienced it yet, is that traditionally the captain determines when the bridge is fully manned and staffed. So when a ship is transiting out from a planet, it's almost entirely up to the captain's call how he wants to do it. If he feels the need to have everybody on the bridge that needs to be there, if he wants to go with like a skeleton crew or something based on potential threats or whatever their mission is. However, when you come back down from FTL speeds, it is almost a mandatory requirement that at least for the first reasonable amount of time, in some cases that might be an hour, in some cases that might be several hours or even a full shift, the bridge needs to be manned. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, and probably the biggest reason, is just that when you first arrive in a new star system, you have no idea what's around you. Absolutely none. You are literally coming in blind. There are things that you can expect. For instance, your navigation or astrogation plotter will probably put you in the same general region of space based on where you're coming from. So you can expect, planets will be where they're supposed to be, asteroids, the stars will be where they're supposed to be. But what you can't always account for is other traffic. Now, having said that, space is ridiculously large. I want to say Larry Niven, but I'm not sure if that's the right name. The guy that wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think.
Douglas Adams.
Douglas Adams, thank you. Sorry for all the other science fiction people that want to smash me in the face right now for getting that wrong. But
You might think you might think going to the corner store to get some liquor is a long distance. That's just peanuts to space.
exactly. And a phrase that we used to use an awful lot in the field artillery was big sky, little bullet. However, yes, big sky, little ship, but even a ship at, say a few 100,000 kilometers, depending on what kind of velocities are involved, that could be dangerous. So basically, this is a all hands on deck sort of thing until
Right.
the initial arrival area is basically considered clear. So when Wyatt and Helwig get up to the station, or excuse me, get up to the bridge, the captain is already there. Obviously, flight and navigation sensors and comms are already there. This isn't necessarily a race or anything like that. But basically, you guys arrive, and then we start getting the following reports.
Am
Go
I
ahead.
there or am I not there?
You don't have
I'm
you
not
don't have a post on the bridge. Your post
just
would
making
be,
sure.
just for clarity's sake, your post is usually something like the arms room, the briefing room, or the ATV bay, your personal quarters. That would be that's where
I'm
you
just-
would normally be.
Yeah, I'm just making sure so I know what I'm not supposed to know.
Yeah, no, I got you. So yeah, we start getting basically a rundown or a status reports. Everybody is reporting to the captain. So flight, which is the pilot and the astrogator, are reporting that the ship has arrived approximately 2.5 astronomical units from Sol, as expected, and roughly 1 astronomical unit from Mars. This translates to a time of about 21 hours before you guys arrive at Mars orbit. Sensors reports that there are no appreciable signal returns within range and that the coast is clear. Comms reports that the standard upload-download process has begun, no anomalies, and no new traffic as of yet. And then the comms guy, whose name I can't remember because I didn't open up that spreadsheet, basically says, we're still a little ways out from the core of the system. We're not going to be getting a lot of information right away. Point of fact, 1 astronomical unit, the fastest information can travel is 8 minutes in that distance, which of course is speed of light communication. So it's going to be a little bit before you guys start getting new comms traffic, new messages, things of that nature. And then lastly, the bridge engineer reports all systems are operating nominally, no issues. And at this point, the captain turns to Wyatt and says, XL, the ship is yours. I've got some stuff to do in my office. If you need anything, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be back at noon. It is currently 8 a.m., give or take, plus or minus a few minutes. But 8 a.m. Saturday, the 10th of April, 2297. And we have arrived in the Sol system. And the ship is yours, XO. Take us in.
So he go ahead. When the captain departs the room, he will go ahead and sit down in the commander's seat,
Mm-hmm.
and then he'll give directions like, "All right, shortest course to Mars.
Yep.
Go ahead at best speed. Comm officers make communication with Mars traffic control. Let them know that we're in system, and we're inbounding."
Okay. Yeah, so about 8 minutes later, Mars Traffic Control receives your message, and about 8 minutes after that, you get a ping back saying, understood, more information to follow once you guys are nearby. Signals continues to update as needed. Helwig, you have no real, hardcore position or duty requirements. You are in a system. There's nobody that says you should not be at your station on the bridge, though. Just in
Right.
case.
Yeah, so I'm standing behind the primary sensor and turret operator, and I am running through just kind of running through and understanding how to do
How to manipulate the system?
how to
Not
manipulate
manipulate,
the
but I
system,
mean, use how to operate.
yeah, exactly how to operate the system.
You trick the sensors into just giving you $20 for gas. And then now you owe them money.
As soon as I said manipulate, I was like, that's not manipulate definitely works 100%, but somebody's gonna misunderstand the particular definition that I'm using here.
Right. So I'm receiving the on the job training on how
Oh
to
yeah.
operate the station. I mean, granted, my training is strictly for computers. I understand how to run the software, but I don't have a sensor operator or turret operator. But I'm going through that stuff, and I will be trying to train on one of those two for the next 8 weeks.
Okay, so I thought you had something like that already.
Oh yeah, no, I do. I have gunner turret at 0.
At
I'm
0,
sorry, yeah.
okay. All right,
Yeah,
so you have
I
a
just don't
basic
have
understanding.
sensors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it. Okay.
So only other thing I'm doing then is like I'm loading up simulated software, just kind of running through the acquisition, uh, acquiring a target, hitting the button to fire the laser, and make sure that the turrets are all responding to the internal bit checks and things like this. And
Yep.
Just in general, just I'm not gonna say goofing around, but just making sure that that system's tight and works.
No, that's absolutely. That's actually pretty smart. Okay, about 2 hours in, so now it's probably about 10 o'clock in the morning.
10 in the morning. Nice.
Yeah, well, it's still 8 in the morning. It was 8 in the morning a moment ago, but now it's 10.
God damn.
Yeah, we're just gonna jump ahead a couple hours. Sensors. The main sensor operator detects sensor contact, distant, moving less than parallel, slow, will be out of range within a few hours, and will be at closest approach in about an hour and 15 minutes. Appears to be a outbound Freihafner freighter. Freihafner, if I remember correctly, is one of the smaller nations on Terrain that recently-ish gained independence from its I think it's actually related to something with the German reunification war. I don't remember specifically.
It sounds German.
It's like Bavarian or something like that. And when
Yeah.
Germany had their little tuffle about getting back together, this particular colony is like, F that, we're going our own way, and called themselves the Freihafner. Something like that.
Sounded German. I figured it had to be German. Of some
Yeah.
sort or another.
But yeah,
Hoffman.
yeah. So EXO Sensors is looking at you. Well, they're not looking at you necessarily. They're just reporting what they get. It's not up to them or you, or it's not up to them and anything that happens from this point. They're just doing their job.
And they have their transponders on, they're announcing who they are.
Yep, transponders are on. We can hail them if you like. That one was from comms.
No, just give me a plot of their current vector to see when they'll intercept our safety bubble.
Yep. So you get a bubble, or I'm sorry, you get a plot on your screen. It's your basic generic circular thing.
Because in real life, airplanes have like an operational safety bubble, and so do sea ships.
Yeah, and I don't know what it would be for a spaceship. I've always assumed a minimum of 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah, that's night fighting distance for a spaceship. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I'm thinking like a minimum. So let's just say if you want, we could push that bubble out to 10,000 kilometers, which in space sounds like.
1,000's fine.
Yeah, that sounds like a ridiculously long distance, but in space that is literally nothing. But yeah.
I'll be able to see them.
Yeah. 1,000-kilometer bubble around your ship, and then there's like an arcing line that comes through, and it's got like little tick marks with time indexes, indicating basically an ETA until the freighter hits that particular tick, and the one that's closest to you is, it says about an hour and 14 minutes, and then the next one out is like an hour and 16 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. Along those lines. It does intersect your 1,000-kilometer bubble, but by literally only a few kilometers.
Comms, can you please tell the merchant vessel to do a course correction, that they're going to intersect in our safety bubble?
Absolutely. I'm getting no response.
Fuckers.
Alright, set a repeat on the signal every 10 minutes, and then let me know when they're a half hour out from intercepting our bubble. And sensors officers, let me know they changed their course.
All right, well, we'll just go ahead and jump up a half hour, because I can tell you right now, the Freihafners are not doing shit. They're just lazily continuing on their way. They have not responded. They have not altered course.
Mobsters, go ahead and contact Mars Traffic Control. Let them be aware of our situation and how they wish for us to respond.
Okay. In the intervening 16 minutes, the ship continues to get closer and closer, obviously. but Mars Traffic Control simply comes back with Freihofners. They're obviously you're getting a recorded message because 16 minutes is quite a bit for a live communication. So you kind of look, you could see a look of some frustration on the ATC's face, and then they kind of sigh, and then it all disappears. Most likely, that's the Freihofner freighter that left out of here the other day, and they are a very lazy crew.
Singer Pile Hollow, can you give me a 1500 meter distance away from that ship time? Readjust your course, please.
One more time so I catch all that.
Oh, I'm asking the senior pilot to plot to make a new course to keep us 1,500 meters distance from that ship.
Okay, so you're gonna alter your own course slightly. No impact on your ETA to Mars. Pilot makes adjustments, probably like an RCS thruster or two that fires on one side of the ship, pushes you off the angle a little bit, and the diagram on your workstation adjusts accordingly. The closest approach time doesn't change, but the distance between you and it just now increases to where probably about about 100 meters or so. I'm sorry, 100 kilometers or so. I had to get my brain on the right scale there. 100 kilometers or so distant, but outside your 1,000 kilometer safety bubble.
I'll accept that. And once again, senior sends out a ship. Just let me know if they change course.
Sensors acknowledges. And then about a half hour, 45 minutes later, you get sensors reporting in outbound mining vessel, distant, mostly parallel, slow at closest approach in 45 minutes, out of range in about an hour to an hour and a half, assuming no deviations. And they are currently hailing you.
Go ahead and receive them. This is.
Go ahead.
This is George Wyatt, Executive Officer of the Wayfinder. How may I help you?
Wayfinder, you guys are coming from Centauri, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
Hey, listen, we just found out about this this incident at the interplanetary station. What happened?
We're not sure ourselves. We were heading outbound during the explosion, and we weren't pressed into SARS work. We can forward you our news information that we have aboard. We were taking it in as we were leaving, but the investigation wasn't concluded by then. It seemed to be a domestic terrorist attack, if I remember correctly, and I'll look around the crew for confirmation on that.
The sensors guy kind of looks at you. He's like, that's not been confirmed. That was low band radio YouTube conspiracy theories.
That's what I get for not taking notes.
Mind you, he says this very low key. He's like, and he's got that look on his face. He's like, I'm not sure if we're supposed to say that. Nobody's actually confirmed that yet.
No, we'll forward you our news if you want, but the investigation wasn't done before we left.
Is there a casualty list? Were there casualties? We've got people family on the station, and they're just dying to know what happened. Any information's better than nothing at this point.
Yeah, no, go ahead, and I'll motion to the comm officers to beam them our Alpha Centauri news that we had before that we accrued before we left.
Okay.
You should be receiving a request for data sending.
Yes, we got it. Go ahead. Authorize that. Yeah. That's the Wayfinder. Yeah, send it. Yep. All right. Yeah, we're ready. Go ahead, send it, Wayfinder.
All right, should be sending now.
All right, thank you. Godspeed.
Terrible tragedy. Yeah, no, our hearts and minds. That's a terrible accident that happened.
I shouldn't be laughing at a statement like hearts and minds, but I am.
Come on, it's just a terrorist attack. Who cares? Come on, guys.
All right, easy now, easy. Yeah. So you guys do a bit of the data transfer exchange thing, and then we do a bit of a transition scene here, or not even transition scene. We get a transition cut. We almost see kind of like a digitalized version of what really happens, and we see this little, obviously the the communication laser is going to be invisible to the human eye, but we see like this little overlaid beam shooting from the Wayfinder to this mining vessel. And in about the middle-ish of this line is a teeny tiny red dot, and the camera just kind of scoots forward, and we kind of zoom in on that red dot, and it's slowly getting larger and larger and larger and larger, and then finally we arrive at Mars.
Nice.
About 20 odd hours later. I'm scrolling through my notes. Give me just a moment here. And we are at that point now in the show where we're going to take about a 5 to 10 minute break, and when we come back, we will see what Mars has to offer us. So see you guys in just a few minutes. Stick around.
Nothing but red rocks and a bunch of garbage.